Welcome to the Expert Real Estate Panel, where we discuss everything from home inspections to real estate. My name is Robert Goodspeed, and I'm with Goodspeed Inspection Services.
My name is Brad Fleming, and I'm with Greene Realtors, Better Homes and Gardens.
My name is Aura, and I'm with Keller Realty Southwest.
Our topic today is what is a real estate inspection and why is it needed?
A real estate inspection is very needed.
You think it's needed?
I think it's needed.
Yeah.
Absolutely, on every deal.
Yeah, it truly is. So I just want to go give you guys real quick what is a real estate inspector in the state of Texas. All inspectors in the state of Texas are required to be licensed by the Texas Real Estate Commission. Same as
Real estate.
real estate,
agents.
right? And there's three levels of inspectors. There's an apprentice inspector, there's a real estate inspector, and those two can only do inspections under a professional inspector. They can't do inspections on their own. And then there's a professional inspector. And
So when you say apprentice, you have to do where you tail somebody around for a while
Absolutely.
before they get licensed.
Yep.
Which is important because so many things that inspectors do can't be learned in books. I would assume you have to see so many different things.
This is a job that you have to do. You have to work the trade. You have to really have to do it. You can't. Now you can become a professional inspector in the state of Texas by taking classes and
not
never
following anybody around.
never doing an inspection. Now I think they're
Really?
changing the law, and they've changed the law. They keep going back and
Now,
forth.
do you recommend that people ask their inspector or just roll with their inspector? Do you ask their inspector, hey, did you do an internship or a apprenticeship?
Absolutely, really. Everybody thinks inspectors are all the same. Well, we are all the same in the manner that we all are supposed to do the same thing. Set forth in the standards of practices. It tells you what an inspection is and what we're supposed to do, the minimum standards of what we're supposed to do.
Tell us how you got started and how long you've been doing it and the process involved in getting to where you are today.
Well, I started in 1996 in the state of Texas. We moved from Indiana to come down here to do home inspections, and I was trained in New Jersey, and I learned under the tutelage of a guy up in up North Texas, taught me how to do it. So I've done 10,000 inspections. It's something that you have to do.
Wow.
That's a
all the
lot.
time. Yeah,
Are
it
you
is a lot.
serious?
Inspections.
Well, for 5 years, I did 3 inspections a day, 6 days a week. I did that for 5 years. So do the math.
And
So
each inspection takes anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, depending on
I would
the
say,
house.
yeah, about 3.
About
A
3.
typical
For
house,
the average
which
house
is what?
is about 3.
Yeah, right.
I would guess.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, what is the average house? 20-some hundred square feet?
Yeah.
Yeah. So along with the termite inspection, it takes
What
about
about
that.
cost-wise?
Cost-wise, inspections are going to go anywhere. It depends
What
if
makes
you
it
have.
vary?
Well, it varies by. We can all set our own prices, obviously.
Right.
But some inspectors new to the business,
We'll have more
they'll go cheap. They want to get every inspection they can. So,
so they can get the experience.
Well,
So,
you
yeah,
pay for
so
what you
$200
get.
bucks, you
in
truly
my,
do.
Yeah, in my opinion.
You
I'm a
truly
friend
do.
of-
So let me tell you quickly, just a quick history about home inspectors. There, since 1986, licensing was started in 1986, and there's been 24,327 real estate inspection license issued. 24,000 since 1986. And right now, there's only 3,597 active.
That ought to tell you something.
Yeah, so I mean, they come and go.
Like realtors.
They really do. And the first license started with license number 1, right? So he's no longer in the business. He retired, but there is a guy with license number 3 who's still active in the state. He's 70-some years old. So,
And he's still active.
and he says he's still active. Yeah, he's still active.
As long as
so-
he's keeping up with code.
Yep.
It's going
That's
to the
important.
attics.
He
It's
goes
going
in
up
the attics and he goes on the roofs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of us out here, and it's all based in, it's all about training, really, training and experience. So that's why there's cheap inspectors out there with maybe not so much experience, just trying to work.
Trying to get in there.
Yep, and so that's why the prices vary.
Right. That
So-
makes sense.
What is covered under a basic inspection?
Well, in the state of Texas, there's what's called the standards of practices. All inspectors are required to be licensed, and they have to follow the minimum standards and practice. The minimum is, it's a big long form, but it covers literally everything from the roof to the foundation.
Okay.
The installation, operation of the heat, air conditioning, the plumbing system, the electrical system, the roof, all the components up in the attic, all the built-in appliances, bathroom fixtures.
And that's what a lot of people don't get, in my experience. Especially if you're showing a house that just shows phenomenally. I have sometimes clients that want to forego an inspection because it doesn't occur to them that though the house may present really well, what's behind the walls and what's in the attic might be a hot mess.
Oh, exactly.
That's a technical term.
Kind of like the old, I guess you would call them a flip, right?
Yes,
so where
and
an
there was a
investor
few
come
years
in-
ago we had a whole lot of that going on where they would take things down to the studs, redo the wall, the
I'm still seeing a lot
drywall,
of it.
but everything else is just a mess.
Well, I could tell you in regards to that, I recently was involved in one, a flip, and the buyers had gone in and it's everything's new. We don't need an inspection, and sure enough, there was page after page after page after things that were missed and that needed
needed to be addressed.
Yeah, it needed to be
Absolutely.
addressed.
Truly does.
And same thing we talked about before with new construction. People are like,
Oh yes.
there's so many trades involved in building a home that things can be missed. And it's up to an inspector like yourself to go in and find those things to where you can go back to the builder.
Yeah, I mean, it's all made by man.
And
so.
experience matters. Robert and I did an inspection together where it was new construction. I'm going to talk about the one because I love it. And we found it was a condo townhouse kind of thing.
3-story.
So the AC unit was in a wall, and he opens it, and this thing was pouring. Where was that water coming from?
It was the AC condensate, because the stand-up system like that, the air conditioning portion sits above the heating system.
Okay.
So when they probably weren't running the air conditioner until I got there. We turn everything on in the house, right? I got all the water going and lights on and fans on and everything I can possibly turn on, including cranking the air conditioner down. So the air conditioning condensate probably backed up in
There was
there,
water
and it was
pouring.
shooting out.
It was
I
unbelievable.
opened the door and it hit me. It was shooting out of the heating unit vent pipe.
But here's what's interesting.
so-
I had that property inspected by two different inspectors, Robert and another inspector. It just turned out that way. And the other inspector did not catch that.
Well, that seems like a big catch.
So,
But he wrote up cosmetic,
Just saying,
so
and he
you
wrote
know,
up cosmetic things, and
So who you use matters.
yeah, it does matter.
No, it does, and I've told you this before, and I think that a lot of agents like to send a list of different inspectors to choose from and what have you.
Yes.
But I don't do that. I think that it's our job as real estate agents to provide our clients with the best of the best. Who would we use?
Right.
Yes.
And so that's why I turn to Robert for inspections, and you do a great job. You've been doing.
Well, I appreciate
We've
that.
been working together for over 20 years. Or
Well,
something
my
like that.
houses, my sisters, my
Yes,
mom's.
yes, yes.
well, it's not an
right.
advertisement for me, but I
Yeah,
really
well,
appreciate it.
Take it when
Call
you
me.
can. Yeah. And your number is
Well, you speak of that. So, Brad, how long have you been in the business?
about 22 years.
And or how about you?
I'm 16.
16, and I've been at it. This will be 26 years in December. So I always kind of round
I'm
up.
the baby.
But so you guys have seen it. I mean, you've
We've
truly
seen
seen a
few
lot of
things. You
stuff.
see-
So
yeah.
that's why we're having here, and hopefully we can teach people who are
Yeah.
watching.
Sure.
In future videos, we can go into other things about real estate. So let me ask you. So when is a real estate inspection needed?
Always.
When?
Yeah.
Always.
Always.
Generally, a real
Who gets
estate,
it?
I say always. The buyer should pay for the real estate inspection. I sometimes have buyers that want the seller to pay just because they don't want to come out of money. Out
Okay.
of pocket that money.
Oh, okay.
And I have to explain it is not, it's a conflict of interest.
It truly is, because
To
at that
have-
point the inspector works for the seller.
Exactly. So we want the inspector to work for the buyer. Once you go into contract, if you've negotiated a due diligence period, most people do. It's during that due diligence period that the inspections are conducted.
So your option period, if
Your
you will,
option period.
7 to 10 days. Or
Exactly.
Yeah,
Whatever you negotiate.
Whatever you negotiate. Okay.
And generally, what I like to do is I give my clients your information. And if they have someone, then you have that person too. But as soon as I have an idea that we are going to actually execute a contract, I tell them, get them lined up. Because worst case scenario, you cancel them. But get them lined up because I want them in there as soon as possible.
Well, what happened yesterday? I showed up to the house. It was a flip, and the gas and water was turned off.
And then you run
Girl,
out of your option period, and you're in a bad spot.
Well, so she's going to have to extend, I guess, the option period. I mean,
Right.
that's not her fault, right?
Right.
To lose those days waiting on the gas company to show up.
Well, as a buyer's agent, you know, of course, but you know, we're gonna have our buyers, you know, have an inspection on the home, but there are pre-listing inspections too for sellers.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Why don't you kind of explain how that works?
Well, I mean, as a seller, you know the house when you get a buyer for the house, that buyer is going to get an inspection, right? I mean,
correct.
Inspections are done on what, 99% of the homes, I'm
Yes.
guessing? I mean, all of them, 99, pretty close.
A lot.
So it's good for a seller to go ahead and have an inspection done, so he has the opportunity, before he puts it on the market, so he has the opportunity to fix those things that an inspector is going to call out. You can never know everything that's going on with your house.
Yeah.
You could have a leak in your bedroom closet, not know it.
Yes, you can.
You can.
Sorry, Aaron Brad's dirty laundry,
good.
but it happens, right? I mean, there's
Yes,
things going on
things
with
do
your
happen.
house, so in that way they can get it fixed, you know, in a timely manner, and price it around if it's a big thing. They don't have to, and under the crunch of a buyer's contract, it's like you got to fix this, and so
Well,
you're
you
going to
fix
hire.
it, yeah. And it's one less thing that's going to show up on the next report, and
Right.
what have you. So that's it's just a good way to go.
Yeah, it's just get all that stuff aired out, get it taken care of before you end up with a buyer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
So what's the so who does what? What's the buyer do? The buyer hires the inspector.
I always say the buyer should hire the inspector. The seller has no obligation to get an inspector. Why would they?
Sure.
Right? So the buyer hires the inspector. Usually they come to us, to the realtors, and ask us for advice. I give them information whether they ask for it or not. Sometimes they've got somebody in their pocket, and that's fine too. I always encourage my buyers to attend their inspections.
I
A lot of
absolutely
people
agree.
want to skip their
Absolutely
inspections,
agree.
and I tell them, listen, this is a lot of money on the table. It would behoove you to understand how your house moves. One of the things I like about you is that you let me follow you around and ask a lot of annoying questions.
Well, I feel like it's an educational
Frankly,
process. Yeah. I mean, you guys know a lot of stuff now.
I've learned a lot following him
I know
around.
nothing. You guys have taught
I
me
could probably
nothing.
do my own inspections. I mean,
No. Don't
Oh
do
yeah,
that.
right.
But I did a transaction recently, and they had a different inspector, and
I hate when that
I know. and there was a crack on the slab just outside the master bathroom.
Right.
And I always attend my inspections. So I'm over there and I'm squatting on the ground next to the inspector because I follow them all around, although none of them like it. You're the only one that doesn't glare at me when I do that.
I like
and I'm right behind you, Robert, going up in the attic.
in her heels or whatever. Yeah.
So I'm looking and he's giving his opinion and I'm like, no, I think it's this and that. And so whatever. It didn't even come up as something serious. Well, you know what it turned out to be? There's a crack, the same as my other client now. There's a crack under the shower pan.
Oh no.
And I had said, I think it's coming from inside the house because the water is
Oh, so
shaped
it
like
had water
this.
coming
Did
out.
you learn that from him?
I swear I learned it by following him around. I swear I did. And I was like, look, I'm not an inspector. However, I'm going to have to disagree with your inspector here based on this. And they called me back. They said, you know what, Aura, you were right.
Oh,
It
no.
turns out we've got a crack.
And he
in
didn't
it.
write it up?
He just said that there was a
He
crack that
mentioned
was
the crack,
wet.
but
And
oh my
nothing
gosh.
else. So I mean, you know, there's maybe he was having. It is what it is. I'm not
Well,
trying
we
to
all
bash
have, we
him.
all have bad days.
I'm
and we
not
all
trying to
miss-
bash him, but I'm trying to say how much I've learned just following him
Well,
around.
that's why I think buyers
You
should be
know?
there. Buyers should
Well,
always
should
be
be
there for
there.
the entire inspection, as far as I'm concerned.
Here's what I tell my buyers. I'm like, okay, first of all, if you're busy and you can't be there, try to show up for the last part of it. You know, and I'll even get Robert sometimes to call me and say, hey, I'm getting to about this point, so I call my clients, tell them to go. Because the important information is at the end. That's when
It
you
is.
explain to
It is.
everybody what's going on, what you sell, and how you present it to them.
Right.
You know, and that's important. You know, not to scare people. You know, it's
absolutely.
like anything's
all
anything's
fixable.
fixable.
It's
you
all
know,
fixable.
yeah, exactly. So there's a
Sometimes
way
it's
that you can.
expensive.
Yeah, well, that's true. You know, and that leads me to my next point as far as the process. I think you were leading to after the inspection. So once you inspect, what I generally tell my clients while we're there, you're going around explaining what you found. However, there's a lot of things that you put on your recorder that maybe you didn't discuss with us, but it will show up on the report.
Right. I try to go over the big things on
The
site.
big things on site,
you know.
right. So what I tell my clients is I say, okay, look, we'll have this tonight. Look over it. You decide what's important to you. I'll decide what's important to me. We'll talk tomorrow and figure out how we can go back to the sellers and negotiate either a compensation or a list of repairs.
Right.
All of course within the means of the option time. So I think that works. Your reports are extremely easy to read. They're the pictures and the description, and there's a summary.
Right.
Which is real helpful. That you can send off to get bids from AC guys or
Exactly.
plumbers or so it makes it real easy.
Do you actually use the repair list feature on the report that we send out?
Yeah,
that works great. Who are great
I
things
haven't
about
used
that.
that.
You don't use it?
No,
Sure.
but I might
I'll teach you
consider it
about
next time.
it. Yeah,
Thanks.
it's pretty handy. It's pretty handy.
It's good to have. And,
Yeah. Well, like I want
very
those buyers.
detailed.
It's an educational process because the reports are kind of ugly. They're long and ugly,
That's
and
scary.
it's a report
I always
by
prepare my
defect.
clients. I say, look, this thing's going to come back and it's going to be.
And it looks bad.
Yeah.
But if they're
not
there,
ready.
Yeah.
But
especially
It is.
first time buyers. We want first time buyers to be there.
Yeah.
Because we're
Sure.
teaching them everything they need to know. Right.
That's right.
Robert, what's not covered in a real estate inspection?
Well, what's not covered under a real estate inspection are cosmetic issues, condition of paint, carpet, window treatments.
That's what you would consider cosmetic.
Yeah, but water stains is not cosmetic. I mean, there's something
That's
going on.
material
So we're going to
defect.
find out. Cracks aren't cosmetic. Cracks around the windows and doors. We're looking for foundation movement. So cracks aren't cosmetic. Now, I tell people you could literally punch a hole in the wall, and that's not going to make the report
Because it doesn't-
It doesn't affect. It's not caused
It
by
doesn't
water,
adversely affect-
termites,
yeah.
structural. So that's not covered. Termites aren't covered under home inspection. That's a separate license. So.
Why don't you talk about the additional coverages on top of a basic inspection?
Well, I mean, so like we do pools.
Yeah.
Like pools are,
Right.
pools are, we don't include a pool with every house because not every house has a pool. So we
Right.
charge extra for pools. And you need to know what you're doing with a pool.
Sure.
I tell you, last week I did a $1 million house, at least $1 million house, and I was done except for the pool on everything in the house. Been there about 4 hours, done with everything on the house, and the buyer wanted to talk about the pool, so we went out and we inspected the pool together. And this pool had a giant crack in it, giant crack in this multi-million dollar house, and very nice pool. And I'm sure she's a realtor. I'm sure probably, it's the end of that deal because there's no way to fix a crack like that. So
Even if you drain it?
they say they can actually drain the pool and stitch it.
But
make
that's
it
never gonna
stitch.
be the
It's,
same.
It's a big one monolithic piece
Sounds
of
like
concrete.
it's pretty expensive.
Yeah, and it's pretty. It's about $10,000 to fill a pool.
Wow.
To fill a pool in Houston costs about $10,000. So pools are extra. We do pools. Termite inspections. We do termite inspections and well and septic. Those are extras.
Right.
So a house that's on well and septic would be an extra charge and inspection. We include sprinkler systems. That's part of it. So thermal imaging. There's some other inspections. A stucco home you want to get and I don't do this. There are people that specialize in stucco.
Generally, so what I also find is a lot of the times, which under a basic inspection, you're going to go in and you're going to find issues, and at that point in time, we can determine where do we need to go with that. As an example, you're seeing movement in a home, you're seeing cracks, you're under the impression that there's a potential foundation issue.
Potentially, yeah.
There's movement. You're going to probably suggest maybe getting a structural engineer.
Absolutely. So
These are good things
absolutely.
to have, whether it's that or
I kind of tell people an inspector is kind of like a general practitioner. I know I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, right? But I have to know about electric and plumbing and engineering and foundation and roofs and air conditioning, all these. But I'm not a licensed air conditioning guy. I'm not a licensed plumber, So your home inspection is like the place where you start. It's like,
Sure.
hey, look, I think you got a problem with your foot. You need to go to a doctor that does feet. I don't know what the doctor.
And then you bring in the specialist, the roofer, the foundation guy,
Right, and
the
hopefully
foot
that
guy.
doesn't happen. Right, it doesn't happen, but sometimes it does. It's like, look, I can tell you this roof, it's on its last leg, and there's damage, blah blah blah. Foundation,
Or at least it seems to be so.
right. Foundations are difficult. I always tell people if the buyer thinks there's foundation problems, there's foundation problems.
There's an issue, yeah.
Well, because it's hard to talk somebody out of something they believe, like a foundation, especially
Right.
foundation. Everybody thinks, that any movement is bad. Well, not all movement.
Houses move.
Right. There's always
to
some
extent.
movement. Actually, houses are built to move.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So your house is not any house like in a new subdivision. It's a concrete slab. It's a post-tension slab, and they have a lot of movement in those. And just because it has movement doesn't mean there's a foundation problem.
Right.
But you can't always tell a buyer that.
No.
Right. So yeah. So that's how it works. It just
Good.
Yep. It takes about 4 hours? Normally about 4 hours to do it.
To do an inspection?
Yeah.
Yes.
Most of your other inspectors are about the same, or
I think it depends. I mean, on the size of the house. And,
Right.
I mean, I've seen you do an inspection in 2.5 hours, and I've seen you do inspections for 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Depending on the size of the,
Yeah.
the house.
Yeah, I had one. Yeah, about a year ago. I did. It took 2 days. Actually, it took me and another inspector 2 days. So that was a big house.
But the average.
Average. I mean, my
2 to
average
4
is right
hours.
at 3. I would say my average is 3 hours. Typical home, 2,000 some odd square feet.
Yeah.
Yes, I usually show up. I like that. I usually show up towards the end of the inspection. I try to be at most of the inspection, but it's not always possible. So I love the fact that you have a super.
Yes.
And
yes. That's awesome.
I didn't know.
That's huge.
That's
huge.
huge.
To
Now,
real
don't all
estate
inspectors?
To real estate agents.
Don't all inspectors have super keys?
No.
No.
What you do, which is nice because, you're going to be there for 3 hours. There's no sense in us being there at the beginning,
unless it's a
or
company
even the
charter
buyers
or
in some
something.
cases, until you get further enough down the, along in your inspection to. So
That's
being
just-
able to have access to the super and get in,
Tools of the trade, really.
You have to have. I mean, that's just my opinion. If you're a professional, then you have the tools of your trade.
Right.
Yeah.
I had no idea not all
But
inspectors had it. I mean, it's so inexpensive. It feels kind of weird, though. I got to tell you, with having a super key, it feels weird to me sometimes.
Why?
Because I'm letting myself into someone's home.
That's what we do all
No,
every
doesn't
day.
that kind of weird you out a little bit on some?
every day.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like, I'm in the door, I open the door, and hello, I'm yelling to make sure I don't wake anybody
You got to
up
make
or-
sure nobody's there. Nobody
Yeah.
got cross
I've got some
wires
horror
about.
stories. Yeah, I've had some horror stories about
I think
that,
if
but-
you're in real estate long enough, you collect a couple of those.
Yeah.
You
I've had the
know?
police show up, set off the alarm.
Yes,
and
yes, it's happened to
it
us,
happens
too.
quite a bit, so it happens. But so, what about repairs? What do you guys recommend that buyers stick to? Are you gonna every leaky faucet?
No, I think
dripping
the
faucet,
big ticket items is what I refer to them
Big
as.
ticket.
I mean, anything that's a fire hazard or a safety hazard or leaks, electrical issues.
always electrical.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Always
a lot of
water
things,
leaks.
and there's going to be a lot of things on the inspection report that are just not that big,
Sure.
big of an item to have repaired, or at least ask the sellers to, because you don't want to get in a situation where you ask for multiple things and the sellers pick and choose what they want to address, and it not be the bigger item.
Exactly.
So-
If you give a list and you say,
Pick 5.
well, if you give a list and you say repair foundation, replace gaping hole in the roof, and fix leaky faucet in the hall bath. I mean, you've just set yourself up. You know, they're going to come back and say, we're going to do this faucet thing, but
Yeah. We'll pick the
You know,
cheapest one on the
so
list.
what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
say is, let's stick to the things that compromise the integrity of the structure, so that we minimize the possibility of, it's stronger negotiating.
Yeah. Well,
When you put
when
you put too many things, then they start to pick and choose. But psychologically, when you limit it, they start to feel like we can't really wiggle out of this.
Right.
And they're more compelled to follow through with your short list. And especially if you've stuck to the major things.
Yeah,
That's
things
more
that they're going to
likely
have to fix to sell the house anyway.
Right. Absolutely.
So those are
So that as is house.
it's always as is going in.
That's what I had
that's-
somebody say to me this week. Said, "Well,
Yeah.
this house is as is." I was like, "Well,
Today
they say that,
it was
but-
when you wrote the contract.
right."
I
mean, they're
but
going to
that's
have to
why
do
we
this
have
roof.
that option period.
Yeah, they're going to have to do it for somebody, or they're not going to be able to sell the house, right?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
more or less. So,
Agreed.
or every deal gets killed, right? So after the inspection, we've covered that more or less, and I think that just about covers it. You guys
I
think?
think so too.
Okay,
so.
So I want to thank you guys for watching our video, and please subscribe and like this video if you would. And if you have any questions whatsoever, you can email us. There's an email to be down here in the link somewhere. And appreciate it. And you guys have a great day. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
for coming.
Thank you. Thanks.